You'll be in a better jail forever.
Greetings fanboys and fangirls, I'm Erod and I'm the Blockbuster Buster. While I've always been a devoted DC fan, I have to admit that I've never liked any of the live-action Batman films. While they each have their redeeming qualities, except for the Schumacher ones, they just don't appeal to me. I've never felt like they've captured the definitive version of Batman in these films. I've said it before and I'll say it a million times. I'm more of a fan of the animated series and the Arkham games, and it blows my mind that at this day and age, no one has managed to recreate that in a film. Now, I'm not saying that the live-action movies are bad. The Tim Burton movies made Batman dark again, and that was great. But they were still unnecessarily weird, eerie, and terribly off-putting most of the time. Batman Begins was okay, just a little fragmented, while The Dark Knight was a really well-made film, mostly due to Heath Ledger's amazing portrayal of the Joker. But it was still unnecessarily complicated, and the majority of the time Batman would get lost in the shuffle. But like I said, it's still a great film, so I have to give credit where credit is due. Dark Knight Rises, however, didn't do a damn thing to change my displeasure with the Batman film franchise. While there are a lot of movies out there that the more I see them, the more I like them, Dark Knight Rises is that rare exception that the more I see it, the more I dislike it. So this means it's once again time for the good, the bad, and the ugly.
You'll be in a better jail forever.
The good. There are three major things that stop me from busting this one or doing a top 10 on it. The first being the fight scenes. Unlike the first two films where the fight scenes are barely visible, here, for the first time in the Nolanverse, do you get to see Batman fight in perfect detail. Why did they wait 3 movies to show us this? I will never know. I think Nolan knew that there were going to be riots if he didn't showcase the fights between Batman and Bane, so I'm really glad that he did. These scenes are excellent, and they do give me a momentary fanboy happy. I was terribly displeased by the way that Bane is defeated in the film, cause it's absolute fucking bullshit. But hey, what can you do? The second thing that stops me from busting this one is Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Donald Blake. He's just a great actor, and they did a great job of making you like his character in a really short amount of time. A lot of you questioned why I didn't do a funny video commenting on Joseph playing Robin in this after I casted him as Robin in my Teen Titans Casting Couch episode. Well, the reason for that is that he is not playing Robin in this. He is playing a guy whose legal name is Robin Donald Blake.
You should use your full name. I like that name. Robin.
Dick Grayson is Robin, Jason Todd is Robin, Tim Drake is Robin. As great of a character as Blake might be, he still wasn't Robin, so there's no reason to celebrate. Also, calling him Robin at the end of the movie felt like Nolan was making fun of us. You know, for all the times that we asked him whether Robin was gonna be in these movies or not. To me, this was like him saying, nope, and this is the closest that you're gonna get. And the last and final thing that stopped me from busting this film was Batman's arc. As far as I'm concerned, this was the first live-action Batman movie that was about Batman. The whole film actually revolves around the character and his effect on Gotham City and the people around him. Granted, they did borrow a shitload of elements from 3 of the greatest Batman stories ever written, which made the film feel like they were desperate for fanboy approval, but hey, it was really well done. The escalation was good. Batman evolves as he goes along, and once again, it felt like he was facing a threat worthy of the Dark Knight. I also like how the arc ties into the title of the film, as opposed to every other film that comes out these days where they stick the word rise or rises into the title just because it sounds nifty. The bad. This movie drags like a motherfucker. The pacing is so damn slow, you are painfully aware of its uncharacteristically long running time, and how Bruce only suits up as Batman 3 times. Really? In a movie that's 2.5 hours long, you only get to see Batman 3 times? Another thing that I admired about The Dark Knight is how great the pacing was, and how it flowed. This movie is so slow that it gets so boring at times that you forget that you're watching a Batman movie. And then there's the other thing that makes me forget that I'm watching a Batman movie. In this movie, Batman is a moron!
So that's what that feels like.
If Batman has one defining characteristic, is that he is very smart. While some might translate that as him being obsessive compulsive or paranoid, it still puts him ahead of the game because he's always thinking ahead. The Batman in this movie is an impulsive, thoughtless nincompoop. Catwoman breaks into his house and steals his fingerprints, which could potentially be used to steal his assets and leave him broke as a joke. And he does nothing! He gets his mother's pearls back and that's it. He loses his fortune because of this, and he still trusts her to help him find Bane, which incidentally was a double cross, which causes him to get his back broken and then be incarcerated. You'd figure he'd learned his lesson, right? But no, he still trusts her. Why? Batman would never do this. Batman is the most paranoid and distrustful character ever. He would never do something that stupid. Like, for example, he would never sleep with a woman he just fucking met. Seriously, he did deserve to get stabbed for that. His paranoia is one of the reasons that he only trains children to be his partners, because he can easily mold them and manipulate them. And personally, I think this is also the reason why he mostly works with Superman and Wonder Woman so often, because they are both so goody-goody and gullible that he can manipulate them easily as well. He would never let a fucking cat burglar in a domino mask run over him like this, or at least not that many times. Hell, the first scene where he goes out to fight crime, he fucks that up too. He leads the cops away from Bane and fails to stop Bane from crashing the stock market or whatever the fuck complicated Christopher Nolan plan he had to pull off. While the other movies made me feel like Batman was absent the majority of the time, this is the one where I felt that he was completely gone. And he was replaced by some dumb asshole who seriously needs a lozenge.
My gang of psychopaths.
They're ugly. Now, let me ask you, what is the saving grace of The Dark Knight? The answer is the Joker, plain and simple. Even if you hate everything else about that film, you have to admit the villain is solid. Which brings me to the major thing that makes this movie fail. The villains are weak! Let's start at the bottom of the barrel, Catwoman. Now I'm happy to say that for the first time ever, they actually portrayed her correctly in a film. She's a cat burglar, a vamp, a con woman, and that's great. Personally, however, I still think that Anne Hathaway looks way too fucking young to be playing this part. And I found that really distracting, especially every time she would kiss Christian Bale, who is 19 years older than her. Ugh. It's like watching my dad making out with Hannah Montana. But it seems like this doesn't bother the rest of the world, so I'll just dismiss it as a personal pet peeve. This character's motivations were terribly unclear. She hates rich people, so she fucks up Bruce's life. But she kind of sort of likes him for some reason. She gets off on killing and stealing, but she wants a clean slate. Make up your mind, woman! Also, the movie never makes it clear why she's so desperate to leave her life of crime and excitement. Who was she running from? What was wrong? They never say. She also comes off as the kind of bad guy that Bruce could have stopped in a nanosecond, but he doesn't. For no fucking reason at all. Then there's Talia. Yup, this is Talia al Ghul. While in the first film, the integration of Ra's into the story and his appearance at the end of the movie was a nice third act surprise, here, Talia showing up feels like it came out of fucking nowhere. And while Marion Cotillard might be a good actor, she just wasn't Talia. Talia is Bruce's equal in every way. She's smart, tough, and calculated. Here she was this subdued, boring character all the way through, and then at the end she turns into this bratty little kid who wants revenge for the death of her daddy. Even though, technically, no one killed her father. He died when the train crashed in the first movie. But she has to avenge the father that she loves. The same father who left her and her mother rot in an underground prison. And then he excommunicated her boyfriend, the man who saved her from the prison, 'cause he's a monster. What? Yeah, Daddy Dearest was definitely worth avenging. Also, worst death scene ever!
My father's work is done.
Now, before I get off the subject of the ghouls, it's time to fire off some
meaningless fanboy gripes!
He said he was excommunicated by Ra's al Ghul.
Oh my god, it's been 3 movies. Could someone please teach these assholes how to say it right?
Though father's name was pronounced Ra's, not Raz.
Thank you, Talia.
I failed you.
Oh, Alfred, don't cry. I didn't mean it like that. Oh man. Let's just conclude.
Meaningless fanboy gripes!
And now for the main villain of the flick, Bane. Now, before I say anything, I just want to clarify that I think that Tom Hardy is a great actor who has turned in a lot of great performances. And while he may not be Hispanic like Bane is supposed to be, I agreed to put my superficial view of this character aside and give Hardy's interpretation a chance. And after viewing and reviewing his performance multiple times, I have to ask, why the fuck does Bane sound like Sean Connery talking through a karaoke machine?
That's a lovely, lovely voice.
What the fuck is that thing on his face? A speaker?
It would be extremely painful.
Just to remind you, the last 2 times we heard Bane speak, he had a calm, subdued voice with a slight South American accent.
You try to fight me with pathetic little toys.
He had a very sinister cadence to his voice, similar to Ricardo Montalban in The Wrath of Khan.
From hell's heart, I stab at thee. For hate's sake, I spit my last breath at thee.
Here, he sounds like a total fucking goober. I didn't find this character intimidating in the least. This felt like it was a practical joke, like him and Bale were competing to see who had the most ridiculous voice.
Where's the trigger?
Ugh. And don't even get me started on him too. What the fuck is the deal with Christopher Nolan letting his actors do stupid voices? Half the time I couldn't tell what this asshole was saying. I just cannot, I repeat, cannot take this guy seriously. Let me put it to you like this. Could you guys take me seriously if I did the entire review like this?
One day this film is gonna meet its reckoning, Batman. Your franchise seems to be clouded in shadow. But while your film may have adopted the dark, I was born in it. Cause I'm Bane.
Fucking ridiculous.
Final verdict.
If you like this film, believe me, I get it. This film does have its strong points, they're just few and far between. If you find this franchise satisfying, then I envy you, cause I sure didn't. To me, it's just another example of a director taking Batman and doing whatever the fuck he wants with him, as opposed to providing us with the definitive version that I've been waiting for all my life. I'd give this thing a 5, and I'll continue to wait for a good Batman film.
I'm still here. I'm doing voiceover work now. Kind of hard to get work when you lost a city to a man wearing a rubber onesie. Oh well, join the Legion, sucker. Bane.